Hey, welcome to the Strong Roots podcast. My name is Kristin Hill, and we are so excited that you're tuning in today. Our prayer is that you would move one step closer to Jesus through this series. So go ahead and check out this next episode.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Strong Roots podcast. My name is John, and I'm actually the pastor of First Church. And obviously, if you don't know, but Kristin is my wife, and she's the host of this podcast. But today, I wanted her to talk for a little bit. I wanted to interview her about specifically the loss of relationship. And we're really kind of talking about the loss of more friendship, family friendship, friendship. But I think that's a really big deal because here's the thing. Everybody experiences this in life, and as Christians, I think we get to experience deeper relationships and friendships than most people have. Like, Christian community is special, and it is deep, and it is real. We've experienced that. But we've also, and this is a part of it, experienced a lot of people who, man, they really say they're going to love you. They really say they're going to care about you. Maybe they do love Jesus, but sometimes they don't love like Jesus loved. And we've had a lot of people, in our lifetime be like, oh, pastor, oh, Kristin, we're with you for the long run. We're in this, and you count on us, and we want to whatever. And some people, man, they really have been. But sometimes, you get hurt.
Right.
And why don't you talk a little bit about what that feels like for a moment?
When we get hurt?
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what season of life we're talking about, because I think when we first went into ministry and it was new, and the first time it happened, the first couple times it happened, it was hard for me to believe.
Yeah.
I was really shocked. I was really surprised that people would do that.
Right.
And look at me and say that. But I feel like, I don't know, as time has passed and I put more trust in God.
Yeah.
Like, I extend trust to people, of course, and I keep my heart open, but I'm not putting my trust in people. I'm putting my trust in God, and their actions don't, I don't know, they're not gonna hurt my relationship with God. They're not gonna hurt my relationship with future people, because that's not where my trust should be placed in the first place.
Yes. And, I would actually call that kind of a form of idolatry, because I think so many Christians tend to almost worship a relationship with people rather than worship God through relationship with people. How have you learned to manage worshiping God and loving people in that order?
I feel like I have screwed up a lot.
Yeah.
Just want to start with that. I think that I can't love people effectively and with God's love if I'm not putting God first.
Right.
Like, it has to be in the right order, or the love that I am giving is not godly love.
Yeah, putting God first for sure.
Yeah. And the way that I do that is I seek Him first every morning.
Yeah.
I create that discipline, and I feel like praying to Him, reading my Bible, being in His Word is a great way for me to be able to do that. But also, I think I've been burned so badly when I do screw up. That I have the scars to remind myself, like, putting people first always ends in being burned, always ends in being hurt. Not only for myself, but it hurts my relationship with God, hurts me internally, but also hurts my relationship with others. And we've done that in our marriage, where we've put each other above God. And I think some of the deepest hurts we've ever committed against each other have been when we've done that.
Yep. And I think that you hit on such a good point, is there's this myth out there that kind of says there's somebody that you can let your guard down around.
Right.
You know what I mean? And in our marriage in particular, I think we were looking for that.
Right.
But our marriage is not the place to let our guard down. Right? Like, I come home and do ministry to my wife first and foremost, right? The number one person I pastor is my wife and my kids. And I think so often we think, well, I can just kick off my shoes and whatever. Right. And I think that's where you get burned in friendships too, is, you open up your heart and say, instead of Christ defining me, I'm going to let you define me.
Right.
And what do you think doing Christian relationship right looks like in a way that allows you to love people but not root your identity in them? What does that look like?
Ooh, I feel like you probably have a specific answer.
I don't, actually.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, I'm just asking you. I want to know.
Yeah, can you repeat the question again?
So what does it look like to root your identity in God, but to love people well as a Christian?
I think I have a couple of thoughts. I think that it looks like always pointing them to Jesus regardless of the cost in love.
Yeah.
I think my relationships that I favor the most are the ones that I know are not just going to listen and let me do whatever I want or affirm everything I say. I think the best relationships, Christian relationships, are the ones where everyone is intentional, like you were just saying. But I think great Christian relationships happen when we're intentional with our time. We're intentional with the direction we want the conversation to go. We're intentional with the purpose, because every single meeting, every single interaction can have purpose and have eternal consequences. And I think that I feel like the best times in our relationship have been when we are serious and diligent about pointing each other to Jesus, but also being a safe place to confess sin. I think in Christian relationship is super important, not overreacting, I think listening, being a safe place, but then pointing them to Jesus in the sin. And you earn those ships by truly listening and loving them and being a safe place where there's no sin at this point that anyone could share that is going to rock our world, because there's no sin that rocks God's world. And I think confession and pointing each other to Jesus are crucial to having really great Christian friendships.
So let's talk about, there have been a few times in our life where we have had people, I think godly people theologically disagree with us or the church, and they're still godly people. They are doing what they think is right. I don't think necessarily sinful,
Right.
or that we think is necessarily sinful, but they have left or maybe publicly corrected us. What do you do with your heart when that happens? When you get in a big fight, because churches have this all the time. People infight over various things. What is a godly way to deal with that in your heart?
In my own heart? I think for me personally, I take it to God. I have to give him, before I can even choose to forgive them, because forgiving them is crucial, but I have to give all of my negative emotions to God in prayer. So whether that's anger, bitterness, unforgiveness, hate, revenge, let's just get real, right? I have to hand that over to God, because there's no way I can say I can choose to forgive them, but there's no way that I can forgive them if I haven't given all of my negative emotions to God first. So I truly will take the time to seek him in prayer and just literally say, hey, God, I give you my bitterness. I give you my rage, whatever, until I feel like I've gotten it all out. And then I say out loud, I choose to forgive blank. And then if I think the last step, if I'm still lingering, if there's still more there, I start praying that God would bless them. That's the cherry on top. I wake up and I choose to forgive so-and-so, and I ask that you would genuinely bless them. And that is how I walk my faith out in forgiveness.
And one of the things that she said in there was a nugget that was just buried in there, but I really liked, was the way that you specifically talked about, I can't remember it now.
That's okay.
Was the way you specifically talked about forgiving them. And I think that's what it was, putting delusions of grandeur away. So so often when you get flamed at a life group or somebody gossips about you and whatever, even if it is sinful, you're going to Matthew 18 confront.
Right.
But I think that making sure that you stop the fantasy of getting even in your mind in its tracks, because I think that thought is sin.
Right.
And for me in my life, if somebody has done something to me, say I get flamed on Facebook by somebody I thought was a friend or whatever it is, regardless of their sin, my delusion of revenge is also a sin, and forgiving them and loving them, so many things. But I think it just begins in that mind. That's such a big deal. It's such a toxic place to go, where you just think about how you want to get back. And over again, it's like, Jesus, I give this to you. I give this to you. Over every time you begin to go down that road. And sometimes over the course of an hour, I have to do that 30 times. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Every 2 minutes, I'm giving something to the Lord because I'm so hurt.
Right.
And yet that's a part of it. How do you keep your heart, how do you not get jaded? When we're called to reach people with the gospel, and some people turn away and you lose those relationships. Some people do whatever. How do you continue to really love people and to continue to have a soft heart for people that you meet as you share the gospel with them?
I think it goes back to not putting my hope in them. I think when I misplace my hope outside of Jesus, that's when I get hurt.
Yeah.
When I put hope, expectations in a person, let's just use you as an example. you're going to let me down. Because that is misplaced hope. Like, the only one who's never going to let me down is God. And I think the way that I keep my heart soft is I really try to not have expectations. Like, you owe me nothing. I try to get, like, in friendships, no matter who you are, marriage, kids, friends, you don't owe me anything. Whatever I do for you, like, there's no strings attached.
Yeah.
Because God did that for us. Like, and that is how I'm able to have a soft heart, because with no expectations, believing you don't owe me anything, my heart's ready and continue to be wide open and soft.
Yeah. And, this discipline, I think, is, and the discipline we're talking about specifically is forgiving Christians who have hurt you or when you feel betrayed, and losing those relationships. Because I think in the Christian church, this is such a big deal. And the longer I've been a Christian, the more I see. I mean, we have so many denominations because of this specific issue. Now, we're just about out of time, but are there any questions that you'd like to ask me as we wrap this up?
Ooh, so when it comes to I know we are very different people.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to know, in regards to keeping your heart soft and dealing with conflict, how do you intentionally keep Christian relationships strong and Jesus-centered?
I mean, I think having a great deal of purpose in every relationship, like you had mentioned, is really important. I think that simply hanging out for the sake of fellowship, for me, is incredibly unfulfilling. Like, it just is over the long term, even if we're doing the funnest stuff. But having a purpose where we're pushing each other towards Jesus, and specifically the Great Commission, like sharing Jesus with other people, I find those relationships to be the most fulfilling. And it's so interesting to me, what are the closest bonds on earth, according to sociologists? Do you know the answer to that?
Siblings.
No. Siblings, yes, but the closest bonds are battle buddies, foxhole buddies.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's really interesting because you have these totally, disparate people who are completely deep, lifelong relationships. Why? Because they faced danger together, they had a shared mission together, they had a clear objective and goal together that they fought in lockstep for.
That's awesome.
And I just think that as Christians, that's the most fulfilling way to have a relationship. And, like, I guarantee you there's some guys in the Army who have faced conflict who are like, I didn't like that guy, but I like 90% of them, and it's because we were in this battle together. And I just remember, if I want really fulfilling, lifelong, awesome, godly relationships and friendships, these bonds come from serving Jesus together.
Right.
And I just keep thinking, like, true unity and true healing and, like, the kingdom of God that's described in the Bible, that's this, like, multicultural mosaic, is not achieved through having an intentionally multicultural church. It's achieved through having a gospel-focused, Great Commission-minded series of friendships that no matter what your background is, we're in lockstep together preaching the gospel of Jesus. Right. And that's I think the biggest takeaway that we have. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I want to thank you for your time on this podcast. As always, we love hearing from you. You do a great job at these, and I can't wait to see you guys next week for another episode of Strong Roots Podcast. We'll see you later.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We don't want you to miss out on any future content. Thank you so much again, guys. I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know I am personally praying that your roots stay strong.